Good evening, everybody. It is round 11 in Bahrain for SSRL. I hope you're all having a good evening, and we have more exciting action on the way. Don't worry, that flickering will go away, because we're going to go right to the calendar. We are now approaching the end of part 3 of season 5. We have tonight in Bahrain and next week in Suzuka for our third qualifying session, and then of course a week's break followed by the final 4 races, which we'll go through in more detail as they approach. But going into tonight, the driver's standings, well, Andy Andre can set himself up perfectly. He leads by 106 points to Danger David, although I do think these standings are somewhat out of date. Let me just update that for you just very quickly. But otherwise, there you go. You saw everything. Oh my god. Let me just go to the constructor standings while I sort that out for you. But it is Mercedes leading the way by 83 points. And then it is Alpine. Yeah, Alpine in second place. Sauber in third. Then it's the Aston Martin and Red Bulls rounding out your top 5. Then it is the Williams. Well, just going into 6th place after a good result in last week's race in China. Of course, demoting Haas down to 7th. McLaren also in 8th, just in a bit of their own there. But Ferrari starting to catch up with Russia Series now in the lineup. They've got off of last position and are now overtaking Racing Bulls, although a point is all that separates them. So it is now Racing Bulls at the bottom of the field. So we'll come back to that driver's standings in just a second, because we need to introduce one of the most wonderful commentators I've ever had. He is an expert in World of Tanks, he is an expert in Rainbow Six Siege and Rainbow Six Extraction, and even managed to keep the current world champion on his seat for 2 consecutive seasons. It's the one and only Herman the German. How are you doing this evening?
Wonderful welcome to this evening stream. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction again, David. And I'm stoked to see this Bahrain Grand Prix plan out today. I've unfortunately missed last night, but I can tell you it was 5,000 of a second between Fellison and Andy, who once again took a win inside of Season 5 in Division 1. But I'm certain there are going to be some people who want to trouble him today, and I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Now, unfortunately, I've gone a bit wrong on my driver's standings because I'm an idiot and didn't properly prepare. So I'm just trying to get those fixed for you. But do you want to tell the gap? Do you want to tell Andy Andre's gap going into this evening?
Yeah, we can have a quick audio version then. It's currently 104 points to Danger David, who is missing out tonight. He will be replaced by Ibo at Red Bull. And 1 point behind that is Fallison, who, as I said, was very close to him behind. But usually that doesn't mean anything. Fallison personally told me that he really doesn't like the Kick Sauber. So even though they're on equal performance, the cars, sometimes you just have a bit of a preference. Then Moksha in 4th with 111, Pleasant Snake 98, Jolly Boy John 1 point ahead of Tibran in 6th, who will also be missing today. Rush moved up into P8 on 69 points, Energetic also missing tonight. 67, Kovetska rounding out the top 10, 56. Then it's Daryl, Quincy, Euche, Vincenzo, and Flip for your top 15. And then we also have Wouter Control, Tuck and Gino for Haas, Toby Lenzen in 90th on 24 points, Falco Warrior on 14 points in 20th, Bavish 21st with 11 points, and Devsy with 10 points in 22nd. And one of probably the last full driver is Kwon on 3 points in 28th.
Thank you very much. And at the moment as well, sadly, still trying to fix the standings for you. But at the moment, right now, there's been a bit of chatter between last night and tonight. Herman, there's been a bit of racing incident made public. Obviously, there was a bit of controversy with one driver. I'm not going to name any names because I don't believe in doing that. But what I really want to kind of ask, because you're more in touch with the admins than I am, has there been any chatter about setting a precedent for future incidents going forward, and what's been the discussion around that in general?
Yeah, so generally speaking, I've been involved for the third week in a row for incidences with the stewards as well. So trying to get some work off their shoulders, and I'm obviously also looking into these reports between, yeah, obviously drivers involved and the stewards. And personally, I have to say the incidences aren't that severe, and I think the overall consent of the driver, of the stewards, and also the admin team was that there is, at least for now, no call to action, since they were very minor, and I think the overall heating of the discussion and the eventual, yeah, let's say, brought out discussion into the public as well was, um I would say, based on previous races as well, and I think the sum of the incidences between drivers who also appear to be repeatedly involved in these incidences, so they don't. At least it seems like they don't like each other on track, and there was yeah, maybe they felt there was a need to have a word out on, and yeah, we don't echo that, to be honest. We don't want that kind of behavior in terms of the chat and how we generally have the yeah, have discussions or talks inside of the league right now. But in terms of like the on-track action, it was very minor, even mostly tending towards no further action in most of the cases. So maybe there was just a bit of the emotions running too high, as yeah, it had been building up over the last few weeks, and there was, yeah, maybe a boiling point now, and one party was not having it and decided to leave it there. So let's see what the future holds, but I don't see any sense of yeah, call to action or an emergency as of right now.
Thank you very much, Herman. And of course, that'll probably be the last time we talk about it personally in the broadcast. We want to move on, have some fun racing. Got the standings in front of you now, all updated, and obviously, as Herman has already said, like, you know, Andy leading by 104. That means as long as he gets a good result tonight, he sets himself up to take the championship next week, and I don't see any reason to stop that. So the battle for second is where it's all hotting up there, with between Danger David to Brad. If any of those 5 or 6 get a good result, well, anyone's in it. And you know, don't count out Rush the Siri either. He could make his way up the field as well. Rounding out your top 10, obviously, Energetic and Kovachka. Kovachka having a good run of form, considering he usually qualifies outside the top 10 to only finish in it. He's doing very well for himself. Then, of course, we have Daryl, Quincy, Eugene, Enzo, and Flip. Then from 16th to 20th is Mr. Out of Control, Tarkangino, Toby, and Falco Warrior, teammates David now. Then Bavish, Devsy, Race Chase, Evor, and Ibo round out your top 25. Then from 26th to 30th, it's Rolly, Truckster, Quan, Valentine, and Big Bruiser. But there is movement out on track now that you know where everything is. Of course, we went through the constructors earlier on, and at the moment, on an outlap, well, there's a few drivers out there, but there's a McLaren leading the way. I would have to assume that is Bavish. It certainly is. Now, Herman, what would be the secret to going around, well, going fast on track here? Everyone on the soft, so nobody really doing any bankers. Could we be expecting cooler conditions, or maybe some rain, or what would be the thinking going on here? Because nobody seems to be interested in a banker this week.
Personally, I haven't seen rain in a league race in Bahrain at all, and I'm racing for 9 years now. So yeah, it's quite a dry track and a dry environment compared to what we've actually seen this year in pre-season testing. So the track is in effect getting cooler. You can see the sun is just about to set, and it's already very cool inside of this 80-minute qualifying session. But usually you tend to go quicker. The tires are, despite a lack of high-speed corners, still very much under pressure, especially the rears. It's very rear limited here. Turns 1 into 2, exit of 4, exit of 8, exit of 10, exit out of the last corner as Bevish locks up into turn 1, and that is certainly not going to be helpful for his lap time. You'd really need to extract tire life from the rears to make sure that your time is still going. But as this game has evolved throughout the what is officially now 10 months and only 2 to go, or basically 1 to go, we have seen multiple iterations where drivers can test the limit of the soft tires, even though if they're not used in race run, they are optional for a second run, maybe with a second out lap or hot lap cooldown hot lap, which helps with tire warm up for the fronts, especially also on this track. So yeah, if you really want to get the so-called banker in, it's usually happening with a second out lap, and some drivers I think will be opting for that, as Mavish completely runs off the track at 11. The game does not give an invalidation because he was too slow and far off the track, and he's going to be thinking about that banker now, and there's the invalidation, turn 13. So yeah, that's going to be one of the trickier parts of this track. Some track limits here, but most of the times we actually see, in fact, spins. So exit of 2, where Sergeant Deputy just exited. Yeah, there's this kind of feel to the circuit where the rear steps out easily on you, and especially if you're fighting going off the racing line into turn 1 or even on lap 1, as Fellison puts in the first lap of the evening, followed by Andy Andre, goes 4 tenths faster, already into 27.7. That was very fast on a, yeah, probably first run here that is still going to be setting him up for at least a top 4 start. And yeah, let's see how this session evolves. But yeah, overall, the weather is not going to play much part. Despite that, we have seen rain in Qatar as well on this game. So don't rule it out, but it's very unlikely. And overall, times will be improving as the circuit progresses and the conditions get cooler.
We see Falco Warrior across the line there, a 130.999, as now the two Aston Martins look out 5th and 6th at this early part of the session. Eugene now up into 4th with a 128.863, looking very quick in that Alpine. Of course, Alpine battling for Mercedes for the top of the World Constructors' Championship here in Season 5, but of course Mercedes with an 83-point deficit. Well, Alpine with the 83-point deficit, not Mercedes. That wouldn't make any sense at all. We see Quincy across the line in the Williams up to 10th with a 129.922. Now, of course, like we alluded to earlier on, if Andy is able to keep it in front of fellow son, Andy, well, Danger David is not here, so that's sort of a guarantee. So you would look at probably just keeping ahead of fellow son. He sets himself up beautifully to take the championship next week in Japan for, of course, that would be our 3rd full qualifying session on the week. And, you know, just kind of talking about Andy Andre, I kind of want to talk a bit about your experience, well, some of your experience with him. Because obviously he kept on the seat of his pants for 2 seasons, and of course, with an unfortunate end, which that was in season 3. What was it that was you were able to sort of keep up with Andy throughout those 2 seasons? And how were you able to always take it to the final race with him?
Yeah, personally, I think we actually didn't have a lot of battles on track. Most of our results differed from racetrack to racetrack, which yeah, could also be yeah, looked at for season 4 at the end there. But overall, I think consistency is what brings you to the end throughout the season, and especially this one. If I'm not mistaken, this is the longest silly season racing league season we have to date. So any previous season was, I think, 12 races or 10, like we had in season 4, the last one before this. So most of the times, if you had a bad result, that obviously hurt you more since there were less races. And yeah, you even can say that for kind of the first half of this season, where Fellison didn't finish 2 races in a row, and he was basically out of it, and now he's 101 points behind. So yeah, consistency is just one of the main things, even if you are behind. And in the previous, I think, season 2 and 3, we also didn't have points from P1 to P15. You still need to be making sure the maximum you lose is 7 or 8 at max. And everything else is just, yeah, it's just playing the long game. You really need to be getting your head around any track that is coming up, especially with that very intense back to back races in on street tracks, and where we had 4 back to back street tracks in season 4 and season 3, and we really looked at a very tough stint. And yeah, sometimes you just also have these performances where you pull something out of the bag. which you didn't really expect. For me, for example, there was Monaco, the penultimate race of the season, where that basically secured me still a chance to be in it. And yeah, 9 points at that time was still a comfortable lead. And yeah, we can't say that for now, right now, but there will be a lot of match points Andy needs to be throwing away to throw this title away. And honestly, even if you had dominant race wins, that doesn't translate to a bigger gap in points. So you always need to, yeah, basically take the result as it is. Even if the race wasn't what you were looking for, just try to stay ahead of your game and make sure that the next opportunity there is, and that is always the next race, you beat him. And I wasn't really a qualifying driver. I've had some qualifying performances that made the difference, but for most of the time, it was really making sure the race pace is there. And as you also or as you have seen, the Monza race was very special from 16 to eventually third after post race penalties. So yeah, if you are concentrated enough and you focus on the right stuff, then you are able to bring a fight to someone who is that good. And as you have already started to talk about this topic, as Quincy has already decided, it's time to have a break. I wanted to touch on a stat that is very impressive from Andy. Not only do we have more races this season, but we are now in race 11 already. And if Andy takes it tonight, he will also, and this also hurts me a bit, he will equal my total Silly Season Racing League win amount in just one season. And that is a statement of its own. So yeah, he just is completely wiping the floor with everyone, and you have to give it to him. He is just driving exceptionally well, and as of right now, we have just yeah, seen his first time in, and it's still 4 tenths ahead of everyone else. With yeah, obviously someone like Russian not up there at the moment with no time, but still, that is just an statement of intent every time he puts a lap time out there in quali. And usually the races, especially with the 2 stops inside of the season, he's just one step ahead, maybe two at times, where you can't really out yeah outgame him in any sense. Like with strategy, you sometimes need to be committing to something because you don't always race Andy alone. And there at some stages more people were close to Fellison's and David's pace than people were close to Andy's pace. And someone like Control, who was racing previously in the old split of no stabilizers allowed, was very fast also at the start of the season and could have been challenging, but seems like he wasn't really enjoying the game anymore, which is a bit unfortunate for our entertainment also. So every time he shows up, he's certainly a big contender. And I hope someone can find more pace in 2025, which is around the corner at the end of next month. So yeah, people will be trying to get some good results now at the end. Maybe try to enjoy the races more with less and less pressure, despite second place still being up for grabs. You really need to focus on how you maybe want to close it out and have a nice state of mind, because Andy's just, he can take it easy. He could have taken it easy from the start of the second half already, which was 2 races ago. So I think if you're now racing to the end, you just want to make sure that you have a nice bar out, and let's see how these drivers can stack up for this 11th race here tonight. And let's see what the fight at the front is going to be looking like. But I'm certain Andy is in it.
Well, don't forget as well, you have 6 races if you include this evening's proceedings. So if you don't quite get things right, as we are on board with Sir Robo there, and just having a bit of a moment on the exit of turn number 4 there, you know, I mean, there's still time to build momentum up, have a bit of a learning curve, although for Sir Robo, he's been all too familiar with this position, and I just don't know where the setup quite goes wrong. I don't know if he's communicating with anybody, or he just doesn't have enough free time, due to, like, you know, life being life and everything like that. But see him constantly at the back. I mean, obviously it's no real issue. The league doesn't really have, like, you know, a 100, like, no, match the 104% rule. But it's just, I would love to just sort of have like someone like yourself, Herman, coach him into the setup. So maybe just, like, you know, teach him as to drive, as we do see him go ridiculously wide there, having to let a McLaren through. That would be of that was Bavish, actually. And I'll come around to the McLarens in just a second here. on 99 points in the constructors. But like, you know, Cerebro has constantly been the slowest. He's, of course, in the Red Bull for tonight, filling in for Danger David as well. Bavish there goes across the line, but all the way off to the right-hand side. But yeah, no, would be interesting to see if we could get Cerebro a couple of more seconds and see if he could fight it out his way at the front. But just talking about the McLarens here, Enzo and Bavish filling in both those seats. And Bavish, well, has had a bit of a rotten record this season. Many non-finishers, and even got disqualified last week for failing to switch tyre compounds. And, you know, where is it all going wrong for this McLaren driver, do you think?
I think from what I've seen and how sometimes also the car has a language, which obviously you can see sometimes in quali and race. I think he's just a bit impatient at stages. I have no idea how much racing he has done before, but I think Quincy talked to me about him before he joined and that he had some experiences or met him before in the league. So I think overall the raw speed might be there and it's just like a rough time and try to form the edges. I think overall the pace can be improved as he goes impatient on the throttle. You can see there, solidifying my statement made earlier. Overall, I don't think Bevish is a weak driver in terms of positioning his car or having opportunities to race, but just a bit of impatient because I feel like if you put some, which I assume is he is doing, if you put some work in and practices, I feel like he wants a certain result at any cost, and he is also risking more than other drivers, and that is not only in fights but also in terms of how much you control you actually have of the car. And if you go to the limit too often, your tires will hate you very early on. So this track is going to be very interesting for two-stop because there is going to be a very, I think, interesting use of the softs here possibly, because I've seen, especially since esports raced there previously, as Andy Andre improves on his time and is now 2/10 out of Feddersen, who had closed down the gap earlier. So that is very nice of Feddersen to keep him company, and let's see if there is more lap time for anyone else to find, including maybe Pleasant Snake and Jolly Boy John, who are actually on equal lap times as of right now. And you have to say that the bearish car control and the body language of the car looks like he wants it a bit too much and needs to be dialing down a bit. But overall, I don't think he is out of a good top 7 finish at any race. So if he, especially in the next week, where Fellowson has already decided that was his last attempt, Bevish needs to find for, especially in next week's full qualifying session, needs to be finding gaps where he can comfortably race his car to the best time, and in the race be, especially with the fronts, be careful and then don't overdo it to make sure he is finishing off a good race. And as you said, momentum can be built now at the end of this game. Obviously, we don't know how much or how equal this handling is going to be, as Rush is now off in turn 2 as he put in the third fastest time. So yeah, Bevish has opportunities still to experiment, but also maybe try to dial in and avoid rookie mistakes, especially not getting tires. You need to be compliant to the rules. You do that once, you don't do that twice. That's it.
Absolutely. Just wanted to say there as well, fellow Sun did gain by 0.2 of a second, as you did say, but also Rush of the Series jumping all the way up to third position, and Race Chase has been a good surprise in all of this. I'm just trying to see where everyone is out on the track, and in fact, there he is ahead as Kovachka is the next retirement there in the session. Under 1 minute to go, so all final flying laps are coming in thick and fast. We're going to have Race Chase be the first to cross the line in this pack, and down by 1,000th of a second. Now, I do just want to say the delta in the top right, if you're new, compares to your personal best, not the overall session best. So don't use that as gospel. For the pole time at the moment is a bit annoying, but Race Chase abandons it, so we'll now cut to Enzo, who's just coming to the start-finish line now. We don't have his sector times, but it's a 1:27.960. That's third place, and well, can he keep it there? Rush the Series into the pits. He won't go any faster. We now look to Pleasant Snake, who is starting a final flying lap. Rush the Series retires. And that might be a little detrimental here because final laps are going to come in from some of the top runners. Pleasant Snake being one of them, of course, and he's all the way across the line to begin his final lap. What about Andy, though? He's on an improvement. He's just gone through the Sector 2 line. He's above a 10th in front. And now, with a 127.6, this could be underneath a 127.5. It's gonna be. It's probably a low 27 at this point. Andy is now coming towards the final corners of turn 14 and 15. Here we go. There's 14, there's 15, and that's a very quick sequence of corners, but they all count as 2. And now DRS Open, it's no improvement. He lost it in the final sector, so all attention turns to Pleasant Snake. Moksha came in with a time there. He's up to 5th, but what is Pleasant Snake doing? Coming across the middle section now of turns 9 and 10. The sector timing board is just beyond this DRS zone. The next left-hander, if I remember correctly, here we go. And now third left-hander, bit of a lock-up on the left front there, but still gets it turned in relatively okay. Goes wider on the left-hand side for this long sweeping right-hander. 0.3 of a second. He is up. It's not enough to pit pole position, but this is possible to be within the top 4, maybe even the top 3 if he can find some time. Babish up to 5th there, finds a bit of a recovery at the end of the session. A 128.1, but for Pleasant Snake, who rides the curb a little bit, he'll lose momentum on the exit. DRS opens anyway. He lost it all in the final corner, riding the curb. Lost all that momentum, and the qualifying comes to an end. And, well, it's the usual story. It is Andy Andre in pole position, as it's written, Herman.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's carved in stone already at this stage. No, but great lap also by Vincenzo to make it into the top 4. I think based on what I've seen from the results, also Rush made it to pole yesterday. So I'm wondering what happened today. If he did the Chinese approach to Ferrari had to their sprint weekend the last time out, where the nice car needed some changes and they were nowhere. So yeah, honestly, 4 tenths is quite a gap here in 4th. So yeah, great effort all by Bevish as well, and McLaren 3 and 5th.
Absolutely. So we'll go through the official results very quickly. From 1st to 20th, it's Andy, Fellowson, Enzo, Rustasiri, Bavish, Moksha, Race Chase, Snake, Jolly Boy John, and Eugene rounding out your top 10. Then it's Talkin Gino, No Sebo, Toby, Kovachka, Craig, Falcourt, Quincy, Quan, Dempsey, and I think it was Suribo at the bottom there. I can't remember correctly.
Must be, yeah.
We're just gonna assume that is. It's a force of habit if that's not the case. I do apologise. But now we'll take a few minutes, and while the drivers will get their strategies ready, remember it is a mandatory 2-stopper race in this season. That is a rule brought in by the league. That's not nothing to do with the game or anything. It's going to be a night race, and I thought I saw rain there, but no, I did not. It looks to have been some sort of I don't know what you call it, heat wave, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, heat wave.
Yeah, just a little bit of a heat wave there in the background, so not rain related at all. But we are now under the lights in Bahrain. But now, well, just in case if anybody is currently just tuning in, and well, we first of all say hello. Also, thank you to I've got some time, Anno Aaroncass for the raid of a few of his community. So thank you very much for coming in. Just currently in the middle of an ad break for non-subscribers, so we'll just kind of talk a little bit through that. Only 30 seconds or so, with 15 to go. But now, what I kind of want to talk about is that this run into turn 1, it's very easy, it's very wide, so it's very easy to sort of overestimate how much room you've got. Now, when you approach turn 1, what was the approach like, and was there any time you were like, I just need to be careful of this and this on my left and right? What was the preparation like for you going in?
Honestly, you just need to be looking at how many people basically are in front. The rest is not really that relevant, because when you basically, if you most of the times you have at least one car that is exactly on the same length as you, and you really need to be making sure, if you're on the outside, think about how much room there is to the inside of the car that is next to you, based on how much room you've been given. So if there's like a nice wide spread between both the cars before they actually start the turn in, yeah, not the break in, but the turn in, you basically can still have a car slipping through on the inside, but you have to say the kind of middle to outside line at the exit of 1 is like most advantageous also inside of the race in just a couple of minutes time, where we kind of see the switchback move and there's just more traction, so you don't really have to worry about losing a position there. Only thing you need to be aware of is if someone on the inside understeers onto your line, basically, then you're super compromised for the entry of 2, and you basically lose a position there for free. On the inside, it's very hard to manage, especially if someone else also thinks, okay, free wide is now the main opportunity, I want to go here. They need to start thinking about braking even earlier because the line into turn 1 is so sharp. And then obviously you need to be having a double switchback on the cars in front. And most of the time you just out traction them and have a good run into turn 4, especially in racing with DRS. But at the start, it's not important to get it completely right in terms of that. Just survive. One of the hardest turns, turn 1s to 3 there is in the game, and yeah, just try to survive. Don't risk too much, especially when you're on the inside. On the outside, you most of the time have the problem you're just being a passenger. You can't really see what's happening on the apex of the inside of turn 1. So yeah, just be prepared that there might be some opening up of the wheel to be coming away. Also, one thing I wanted to talk about quickly was picked strategy yesterday from the winner, which was Andy. I have to say, disregarding the safety car, and that was out on lap 24. And he again started on the harder compound, which was in this case the medium, where a lot of people started on the soft. And he was actually going for an
Sorry,
undercut.
Gavin, we're about to go for the race. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights on your screen. And it's going Bahrain, and I think Andy gets a good start there. He indeed does. Fellows sort of a bit squirrely off the line. Let's see how this goes into turn 1. A lot of cars in the middle going side by side, 3 and 4 wide. And look at that, even 5 wide in the background, my word, with 2 Aston Martins and a Haas involved. But somehow it all stays clean. No, it doesn't. In the background, Toby and Craig and Sebo involved in a collision early on, and that is the curse of turn 1 in Bahrain. But for the lead of the race, fellow son is right alongside. Even Pleasant Snake's got to move on. He's got to took one of the Aston Martins of Race Chase. Let's have a look at who's starting on what. Ruster Siri on the hards along with Kovachka, but Toby's out. Toby is DNF'd. That could be a rage quit, and that might not be looked too fondly by the stewards. But at the moment now, it's the McLarens who currently occupy 3rd and 4th, and those two are in for a good result, and I did not see that coming, but we are currently having an entertaining first lap, aren't we, Herman?
Yeah, certainly a good start in the back. Everything was moving as predicted, as of a chaos that could have been there. So honestly, I'm quite happy there's no one technically out. I think Toby had some connection issues, and sometimes there's a bug. When you leave, you get retired. I don't know why it's still in there. We are 11th month in, so that's very hard. I need to be seeing a good race here from Snake, honestly. He is looking at a good opportunity. Moksha is currently just 2 places ahead of him, and just a couple of points as well, with David missing. And you also talked about top 6 being close together. Jolly Boy John also only in 10th right now, so hope Snake can find something. Lost a bit of time, obviously, at the final run of qualifying we were watching. Probably maybe a top 4 start if he could have completed that lap like it was looking instead of the first 2 sectors. So I hope he can find more pace, as we have a spinning Williams. No, that's Kovachka. That's a V-carb. Has lost traction maybe at the exit, and now is getting overtaken by Dempsey. No, that was in fact the Williams. It's Quincy going down the order at the moment. And now Toby will be finding out that his car is gone already after lap 1. And there's wing damage to the Williams. And that is certainly going to be an early stop. But not to worry. The hard is going long. The hard is very great here after you go through the pain of warm-up. So I think Quincy can be bouncing back. And also, 19 drivers still to go. Safety cars are still a possibility.
Absolutely, but fellow son and well, Bavish finally could be on for a good result here. How often have we said that, only for it to all come to nothing? And we have got a, well, entertaining battle for the lead. We've got Moksha now getting involved in all of this. Of course, Moksha and fellow son involved in a battle for second place. Moksha just on the outside of it, though, looking by 24 points to Danger David going into this evening. And, of course, the Red Bull driver not joining us, being replaced by Sir Ibo this evening. But now fellow son goes for the lead in the race as Bavish takes the fastest lap of the race. But what does that mean for Bavish? Don't take your eyes off the McLaren in the background. All of you two, look at that momentum coming out of turn one that Herman was alluding to earlier on. Bavish trying to find that line with traction, doesn't quite find it there, and that means Moksha has a run going into out of turn 3 into turn 4, but Bavish cuts him off and Moksha slots him behind, and we were as we were. But now in the background as well, well, lots of action here. Aston Martin and Red Bull going side by side into turn 4. The Red Bull kind of has hold off for Jolly Boy John round, and that is unfortunate for him. Jolly Boy John could have been in the battle for third, but his race is going to have a Mount Everest effort to have any sort of recovery. Crank George also recovering from a mistake there. And unfortunately for him, down to 15th, losing a position to Quan. Quan actually having a good race, all things considered. Usually find him towards the back, fighting for the lower end of the points. So actually, he's kind of where he needs to be. But it's really exciting to see him fighting with a couple of other drivers as well. Gonna keep with this battle, actually. So this is an Aston Martin of Jolly Boy John in front, who, of course, we saw just make that mistake. Now in the background, we have Sergeant Dempsey and Sebo going side by side, Herman.
Yeah, Sebo has rejoined as a full-time driver as Aston for Haas, and he's sweeping around the outside, and there's a loose moment for Dempsey at the exit of 11, and the Haas car is now ahead. Just speaking of the fight you've just been watching with Jolly Boy John for a brief moment, they also fight in the constructors, Red Bull versus Aston Martin. Now they have a better opportunity as of right now to get some points on Aston Martin, despite Race Chase currently fighting for what is P6 going by on Pleasant Snake, and also the sole remaining Ferrari is trying to defend the last position or trying to fend off the last place V car with points. At the moment they are both behind him, but yeah, we have seen Rush also not finish races a bunch of times, so he's really trying to hold the flag for the Maranello squad, as they are only 1 point away from P10 and the constructors. So that would be a huge disaster for that established team, as Quan is fighting more pace and more traction, but there's not really a line into 7 right now, as Jolly Boy John was ahead there, and he's also trying not to hit the back of Kovachka, as braking is tricky into 8 and also into 9 and 10 right now, but they seem to be sorting themselves, as Fellerson has taken the lead on lap 4.
Absolutely. Well, I took the lead a couple of laps ago, but we'll just pretend it happened now. So Fellerson obviously leading the Grand Prix as of right now, and he's also, well, both of these two have gotten outside of the DRS of the McLaren, so the McLarens need to kind of try and come up with a miracle. But when you've got Moksha behind you, well, it's not going to be easy. And Jolly Boy John's still fighting for 12th place here with Kavacha and Quan. I don't think that's where he predicted his battles to be happening, but lots of action up and down the track. It's very hard to know where to look at any one given time. We have the battle for 16th here, but now the McLarens do indeed swap. As now, well, trying to get some momentum, as now Andy and fellow son nearly making contact in turn 1. How on earth have they kept both their end plates? I don't know how, but they keep it clean. But fellow son is saying to Andy, I'm not making this easy for you, even though the championship is all but decided in the grand scheme of things. But Andy loses tries to fight for the lead and loses it, and now there's battles happening up and down the field as soon as we speak. Here we go. The battle for 12th is now hotting up. Jolly Boy John with DRS into turn 4 has to slot him behind for the time being. What about this continuing battle for 16th? It looks like no Sebo has got a comfortable gap there, and Sergeant Dempsey will have to think about that another day. Bit of a lock up into turn 4, but we'll get the exit that he requires, and so he'll keep that non-points paying position for the time being. But now look at this, Enzo now within the DRS, well, of the top 2 here, although he didn't quite have it going into the second zone. But look at that, Enzo just chokes away by that gap. Couple of tenths there, or at least a tenth, and he is now, well, gonna bring 9 cars well, I say 9 cars, but there's now 9 cars fighting for the lead of the battle, and this will probably give Andy and fellow Sun a bit of equal anxiety, because now they were trying to work together, I imagine. Had that tussle into turn 1 earlier this lap. Well, consider that last lap at the line as, oh, Bavish here into the pits already, from soft tyres to whatever else. What's the strategy here, Herman? As Tarkangino does the same.
Yeah, I think that was actually something I was thinking about, because they brought the pack back into the range. You have the biggest undercut opportunity there is, as no one of the front cars really sees who is coming in and if they are really a threat. And if I'm the top 2 right now, despite them opening up the gap again, I would be worried, because if you go through fresh tires now, like Bevish is now trying to attempt to, you really are in a position to get or to jump someone, as Fellison gets it a bit wrong there, and they're fighting side by side into turn 9, leaving plenty of space, but on the outside the Mercedes is ahead and Fellison slots in behind. Didn't really want to fight there, and I looked a bit loose on the exit there for the kick Sauber. But honestly, I'm just looking at something similar from yesterday. Vincenzo and also Danger David starting on the soft, and they were undercutting the field as well. I think, especially with these guys, if the group inside of it starts to fight for what is generally positioned inside of the pit lane, you're going to be losing out anyway. So I'd rather go maybe a bit through traffic here, as Bevish stairs come out in a nice position. There's only a gap of 1.1 to a driver behind, and he's currently, I think, outpacing him anyway. So let's see if multiple drivers are jumping the gun here, and that's only Rush in the background, which is a sensible opportunity here to be had. And there's also Eugene jumping in from Alpine. So obviously, when you have split cars like McLaren have, and also Alpine inside of the top 9, you need to be doing that anyway. And the first opportunity that presented itself was there for Bevish to take, and I think that's some of the race intelligence he needs to be developing, even if that move isn't working out at the end. I think trying here is a good opportunity to make something work. The race can still come back at him if there's a safety car or any other intervention.
Absolutely. We currently go back to the battle for 8th place here. Kavachka overtaking Jolly Boy John, but of course this isn't going to be the final way the race ends. Remember, despite people making their first stops now, there is a second one that you are needing to take, or else you will get a massive penalty at the end, which would demote you all the way down the field. So it is in everyone's best interest to make a second stop, as Jolly Boy John losing it out of turn number 8 there, having a bit of a moment. And of course that's not the only one. He's had a few laps ago, had a moment on the exit of turn 4, so that car not looking very stable at the rear or under acceleration, so it could be an issue with tyre temps, or just could be an issue with how the car is set up. Just talking about the lead of the race for just a second here, because Moksha's now within 1 second, and he's escaped Enzo there in the background, although Enzo just catch it back up. I don't think either the McLaren or the Alpine will have DRS, as we see Pleasant Stake there into the pits, and we see a swap for the lead. So Andy and Fellowson doing just enough to keep them behind, but ooh, Andy might just concertina Fellowson here into the back of the, well, into the front of the Alpine, I should strictly say, but not enough. So DRS being a helper yet again for these two, and they'll come out ahead, although side by side into turn 4. I'm surprised Andy has decided to fight that back, considering how close the Alpine is. They still go side by side. Fellowson and Andy. Andy might have been pushed off the track a little there. Fellowson just losing the rear end, but there you go. Andy also losing the rear end as he's now round the outside into turn 8. It'll become the inside for 9 and 10, but this is costly, because now Moksha's in there, as now Andy takes the lead of the Grand Prix, but for how many moments? Because now Moksha's in there, and this is important for Moksha, because he needs this second place, needs to finish ahead of fellow Sun to get himself in that fight. But now they are nose to tail, and well, Herman, that's all gone really wrong for the top 2, because now they've just brought in the McLaren and the Aston Martin.
I think that is really hurting them, because if you look at Bevish now, where Rush is passing his brother, he has undercutted him by 2.5 seconds, and these guys are losing time on the old tires. And yesterday they pitted on lap 8 from the mediums onto the next tire, but they certainly will be behind Bevish, I think. At least... Oh, they're racing side by side into the pit lane! They can't be separated! Oh my word!
Side by side into the pit lane go fellow Son and Andy, and you know what, if this was a battle for the championship, we would be ecstatic here in the commentary box, although that is an epic moment of cinema in of its own. They're gonna come out, and well, no, fellow Son just in front, the Kick Sauber crew doing enough.
And Bevish is coming, and he's jumped them, he made it!
Bevish is... Sorry, go on, Herman, I do apologize.
He has just taken the lead on the undercut with the mediums, and I think both of them, if I'm not missed, that have gone to the medium as well with Fallison and Andy. So they will be fighting back soon, but Bevish has an opportunity to get out of this traffic jam that was the top 9 at stage. And with some drivers, especially Kovačka, Moksha and Race Chase not have pitted. Oh, they went to the hard even, so he has a good opportunity to get away here. He needs to be clearing Kovačka fast. Rush is even on the soft tire, so he has clawed that time back. And obviously, if Bevish is taking a bit too long with an overtake, that is obviously hindering him. Now they're back together, but overall he made a good call in terms of the strategy, and he's also not taking any prisoners here. Immediately to the inside of 11 with that extra DRS zone, and basically the whole track is, apart from the end of sector 3, DRS straight, and they are really at this stage at least fighting for survival. And I think Moksha's overcut is gonna be costly, because I don't see how he's gonna be ahead of Vincenzo. That would be crucial at that stage to be directly behind Andy, but let's see. And Rush is now taking the lead of the race, it seems. Now Race Chase has stayed out his way, so that's second. But the net race lead, because Race Chase is still scheduled to make at least two more stops. On the inside, Svensson against Kovačka. Very good mates. Have raced together for Kick Sauber just before we swapped cars at the start of last weekend in China. And now Bevish is obviously trying to stay with Rush. I don't think the tire advantage is that great, but overall the performance of them can be the difference maker here. And the excess of 8 and 10 before the next DRS zone are going to be crucial, as Andy finds himself a bit stuck here at the far end of technical sector into turn 8 and now 9 and 10. So he needs to be getting a move on, because Kovačka has also lost DRS to the car in front. No, he was inside the DRS zone, but the next one is going to be tricky because his tires are not getting younger. And he needs to find a way back past CV Cup.
Absolutely. Kovačka, well, of course, as Herman just said, outside that DRS zone, so Andy needs to get this move sooner rather than later. Race Chase now into the pits from a 17-second lead. But what's been interesting is with Moksha, Pleasant Sake, Andy, Kovačka, and yellow flag for Sergeant Dempsey, Kovačka's teammate. No harm done, though, just a brief yellow flag. But where is Race Chase still in the pit lane? He won't be in the lead of this race. So it is Rush Desiri, your new leader, as Kovačka hanging in there with older, harder tyres, although it's not much of a difference, all things considered, as now there's all sorts of side-by-side action up and down the field, and there is an Alpine as well overtaking Race Chase. So Race Chase from the lead of the race to 10th place. Well, that's not bad, all things considered. Let's just see, down 3, so it needs to be in 7th. But look at this, side-by-side between Enzo and Pleasant Snake. And it is Enzo that comes out on top through turn 4. But I imagine that Enzo, well, no, Pleasant State will be back there soon, considering we have DRS advantage, and Kovačka might work as a cork in the bottle to this pack. But now Bavish is still in there with this lead. Well, I say lead at the moment. I will say that this is all strictly speaking on Rush Desiri, of course, who is here on genuine pace there. Both of them pitting a little earlier than the drivers behind. Well, Enzo, well, I say that, then Enzo and Kovačka go side by side. Kovačka losing another place. No surprise, really, considering his harder tyres are older than the tyres, well, on other drivers that are around him. But now, well, is Bavish going to try and have a go for the lead of the race? Well, he's going to have to think twice about that. He has got fellow Son in the background there. There's all sorts of changes happening up and down the field. Pleasant Snake to the inside of the final couple of corners. He's up to 7th place. I should have the DRS. That activation shown is just before the corner. But now, as soon as we say that, we see a swap for 2nd place. And, well, does he go for the lead of the race? No, because Babish is there, and there's fellow Son trying to go around the outside, and there's Babish there with an opportunistic move. My word, that could have ended in disaster, and tears for both the McLaren and the Kick Sauber. But luckily, everyone's staying in the right direction, but Babish getting desperate there. Bit of a look up there into turn 4, goes a bit wide. Will lose a bit of momentum on the exit, but should get that back by the time we get into the DRS zone. But now Moksha is there as well, thanks to those couple of mistakes from the McLaren. It is now very close indeed, and Andy is not too far away either, 1.3 seconds. Now Eugene has made a move on the V-Carb, but it looks like the V-Carb has cut back on the Alpine because, well, he tried, because now Race Chase is up there down the inside through 9 and 10. That move gets done rather nicely from the Aston Martin. It's Kvachka with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Both have DRS, but Kvachka now needs to serve that as the end of the race, as that is considered gaining advanced on track. Eugene is the next one to follow up in 8th place, but here we've got side-by-side action for what is 12th place. Jolly Boy John now 10 seconds behind Talcangino, who's 8 seconds away from that pack we were just observing there. And now Race Chase and Eugene are swapping positions, although it is a little bit pointless considering how Eugene has that 3-second penalty now. And there we go, all things beginning to calm down a little bit, although as soon as I say that, fellow Son to the outside into turn 1. Moksha overtakes Babish for 3rd place, and now Babish, well, from the podium to 4th place. Eugene and Race Chase going side by side again, and now, well, the top 4 all have DRS on each other, well, apart from Moksha there, so evidently one DRS activation point accommodating for 2 zones there, so my bad there if I've got that wrong earlier on in the commentary. But now that we've got a bit of calm, I dare say, Herman, who's been your standout there, as we see 12th place and 13th place go side by side with one another, and that's Jolly Boy John holding on to 12th.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that Moksha's overcut worked that well, and that Andy is currently unable to keep with the guys in front, because one of the 1.5 to 1.2 seconds the last laps. He was behind someone that was basically not in the DRS window of any car in front, and Moksha also was coming out relatively close to where Andy and Ferguson left the pits, and that was certainly a good move, because he has now fresher tires, and they're working, or a lot of people are working with the soft tire inside of the middle stint, which I find a bit surprising. Usually one of the weaker options, but I think they may be saving a hard tire for in safety car intervention maybe, and Babish is losing that early advantage from that fresh tire, and that is now brought, as soon as we spoke about Andy, back into the fight, as Moksha was trying to have a look on Rush. So overcut obviously means now, for example, Moksha has fresher tires than Rush and can be going for a move here. He's lining that up, double slipstream coming probably up. The straight is not fast, not long enough to maybe have a go at a car that has DRS also from the car in front, and now Andy is 3 seconds behind, and despite Ferguson also being on the hards, he's not able to find any pace, and based on what they have been doing yesterday, I think Andy also might be surprised how that has gone around, but you have to say that the most crucial part was the too much fight in between Ferguson and Andy, where Ferguson got more out of it and made the moves, especially on Kovachka and the cars in front early on, and that didn't cost him so much time. And he has now to, has work to do with these tires. He needs to push him to the edge now to maybe keep with him. Could be also playing just a patient waiting game, because the softs are going to be falling off obviously sooner. But same goes with Kovachka, who now has made a pit stop back into 12th position. I don't think really the overcut is working with the hard tires, not at least. So the medium is the strongest starting tire for the overcut, as Vincenzo swaps with Pleasant Snake. I think Babish will be dropping massively, and also to his teammate, who is now pitting again. And Snake realizes that, goes in as well. Moksha to the inside of what is the green Sauber of Ferguson, and takes second position in his prime to be looking at the first position now as well. Rush obviously no DRS, as he's the car leading out in front, but the Alpine thinks better of it and stays behind and has overall currently a bit of a traction advantage. So maybe there's a move coming up very soon, but you also have to keep in mind that as soon as you hit the braking for turn 14, there's the next DRS coming up, even if you make a pass into turn 11. So Alpine still with a great showing so far. Jolly Boy John 19 seconds behind 7, so they have really opened up a gap here, and despite the first pit stop phases, they're looking strong. Oh, and that goes horribly wrong for Kran Georg as he applies the brakes for 4 and skids off the dirty part as there's a Mercedes spinning on that corner, and that's very unfortunate. He had a very good first opening stint and now has dropped back outside of the points paying position as Quincy is now 4.4 behind him, still on that hard from lap 1 after he had made contact with someone on the opening lap, and now multiple groups have been forming. One is led by Jolly Boy John for P8, and now this top 3 fight has continued as we've approached the halfway mark. Double DRS and big slipstream coming up for the Kick Sauber. Rush is defending it to the inside, and now there's a 10 seconds for Bevish, unfortunately for speeding, and Moksha makes that work, and Rush losing both of these positions, but I think he should be trying to not stress his tires too much anymore, as Andy's going to be benefiting from what happened to him before. Very close with Fellison. Is the window open for Rush there to slip through? No, not at this stage. But there might be a sense of urgency for Rush now. And he could be looking at an undercut very soon because his tires are going to be screaming at him now. I'm interested to see if it goes on another fresh soft. 9 laps already. That's quite long. So there could be another one. And there's a big fight coming up for P10, I think. Yeah, Jolly Boy John was swapping positions here. And Snake is also still close to that. So let's see how that works. And Kranko with another mistake, dropping down another 2 positions. So yeah, watch out for Rush to take another opportunity at the strategy, and he will be looking to drive into that gap that is currently between the Aston Martin of Race Chase and the McLaren of Bevish, basically a whole sector apart.
Absolutely. Well, bit of bad news for Bavish here, who was leading for a brief moment earlier on in the Grand Prix. 10 seconds pit lane speeding penalty as we see Moksha and Fellowson swap positions, although I do think they are trying to work together to get a gap on the cars behind, although Andy is chipping away at that gap 10th by 10th, so he could still be involved with this towards the end of the Grand Prix. Of course, second pit stops do need to happen. As I said before, it is a mandatory 2-stop rule in this league, or else you get a massive penalty post-race from the stewards. The bit of a fight there for 14th there, Crank George being overtaken there, and that explains a lot because there is no front wing for the V-Carb, so I would think he lost that in that yellow flag we saw a few moments ago, and he is dropping down the order like a stone to water. But apart from that, bit of good news for the Williams there. Pleasant State gaining a position, but Jolly Boy John will have the DRS to come right back at the Williams, although it won't be close enough from turn 3 to turn 4. He has to slot in behind and try again another day, as now, well, these drivers aren't really making the impression yet because, well, Bavish, Enzo and Pleasant State have done their mandatory 2 stops, as has Eugene in the background and Tarkin Gino. But now we are just waiting for the top 5 to make their own pit stops, as our fellow Sun yet again swapping for the lead of the race, and Moksha is going to have that DRS down the start finish straight, although I would expect sooner rather than later for one of these 3 to come into the pits. Not on this lap though, so that means Andy Andre might have a free run at a couple, and now Rest Serial goes side by side with Moksha here, and can he catch up to fellow Sun into turn 1? I doubt it though, because Moksha is going to try and come right back at him, having to try for the overcut into turn number 1, or whatever you call it. As well, there you go, that all kind of sorts itself out as 12th place gets given to Tarkin Gino there. But there you go, that through that second DRS, so not really an overtaking opportunity, it would seem. So everybody in their respective positions going through these section of the track, and Andy Andre is coming towards them at a rate of knots. and should be on them well within a few moments' time. Look at that, just a couple of tenths through those corners, and that is just akin to the tyre life. Of course, fellow Son and Andy are going to be in better positions than the two soft runners in front, but at least the advantage for the soft runners is they can just get off these tyres. They don't have to worry about Bavish behind, they just have to worry about Race Chase, and Race Chase, well, has a little more to worry about. In terms of that, he's 11 seconds away. But no, sorry, correction. Nearly 9 to 10 seconds away from Bavish behind us. Now, oh, has Bavish made a mistake? He has, and he drops down the order. So all of a sudden, you worry about one, and now you have to worry about another, because Enzo now leads the way, and Bavish with another mistake, Herman.
Unfortunately, he finds himself pointing the wrong way as now Rush dives into the pits and splitting Moksha and Fellison. There's another speeding for Vika here, and that is no, the Red Bull of the boy. I think Bevish just a bit too hot there. I think he has overstayed the welcome with the mediums, and I think he was trying to extend towards another soft stint, which we are currently seeing from Rush. 10 laps each. I was looking at if anyone did the soft medium soft strategy, and yeah, Rush is certainly experimenting with the double soft here. Kind of works right now with Moksha obviously having that fresher tire, so I think he needs to be responding next lap as he's been yeah, benefiting from an overcut again, and obviously being dragged along by Fellison, who's on way better tires. I'm a bit surprised not to see the soft, medium, soft here inside of this race for a couple of drivers from the get-go. But yeah, we have seen especially Snake and Eugene pitting for that harder tire on an undercut strategy after yeah, also being inside of the top 9 group in the first stint. So they are not looking like they're coming back with big gaps at the moment, with some drivers still in need to pit, and now Quincy is doing his final stop as well. Nothing has happened as of right now, but he can still benefit immensely from Bevish penalty especially. And yeah, I think Bevish maybe should have swapped to another tire earlier. I'm not sure if he's had a second medium maybe, but he was certainly looking like a fresher tire would have been a good choice, especially after he dropped back to P5. Moksha now with the immediate response. Now let's see if we get a rematch between the top two. Currently still set apart by 1.7 seconds. Sebo 10 seconds getting out of the way. Let's see, Rush is on the start-finish straight, and he is jumping Moksha by quite some time, and there's obviously warmer tires already. Moksha actually going for the mediums a lap later, and Rush is opting for the soft, so very interesting in terms of strategy. And I'm also interested to hear if Rush finishes on the podium, what kind of a learning he got from yesterday. Started on the soft, went for that hard, and after safety car phase, was back onto the soft, but couldn't make it past PA. So yeah, it's working quite well for him. Usually we have it the other way around. Good race in Division 1, where he took pole yesterday, but was unable to finish on the podium. So yeah, looks good for Rush, and that's very desperately needed for Ferrari, as I have alluded earlier. 1 point away from the bottom of the constructors, and now gaining massively on McLaren, who are currently in 8th and 11th respectively, with Dervish still in need to serve a 10-second time penalty at the end. So yeah, just a couple of laps to go as the Rush moves by in deftly, and now Fellison is into the pits, and Andy has stayed out, in fact. So soft also for the kick Salba, and I think the lead will be moving to Rush as Moksha is 3.5 behind. Rush in a prime position, and you will be a bit desperate to maybe correct yesterday's result, as kick Salba obviously doesn't make any hesitance to move out of the way. Jolly Boy John maybe next to Vincenzo, and then McLaren goes deep, and there's no opportunity found by Jolly Boy John for the moment. And yeah, Andy will be back in the fight again, but inside of the group, and maybe around where Moksha is right now, 18 seconds between the leader and P2 is yeah, not enough to stay ahead. I think we need at least 20 to 21 here, and that would be rightfully between Fellison and Moksha for that final place on the podium.
Here we go then. So we're going to see second pit stops now all rolling out. Andy should be in at any moment. Of course, well, I say that, but most of the field have now done their 2 stops. We're just waiting on Andy to do his. He will be undercut by the Ferrari and the Kick Sauber equally. I don't know about the Alpine. That's where the window is a bit tight, but here we go. Andy into the pits. He should be on the soft tyres till the end of the race. It'll be a 7-lap stint. No, it's the mediums. Well, that's interesting. I think Andy wants to play it safe and see what happens to the softs as they, well, go through these final few laps. And Russia Siri with the fastest lap of the race so far. But remember, those soft tyres do not last very long. He's got to look after them. Fellow son, well, he doesn't really have, well, he also on the soft, so he'll have to look after that. And the lockup won't help there as Moksha, well, goes side by side with Andy and gets the move done. And those tyres won't be quite up to temperature just yet. So Andy has gone from first all the way down to fourth and has it all to do. And Moksha hasn't kept up with the top 2 at all. So the quicker he gets this done, the better. 8 laps to go, though. And it's going to be very close. I'll give you that for free. But Fallow Sun now is going to be battling for the lead throughout these next, well, as I said, 8 laps, 7 at the line. And now, well, he's got a comfortable gap, but needs to primarily look after those tyres. As Falco Warrior with a 3-second penalty there, down in 15th. That's his first. Doesn't actually affect his end race result unless if Quad gets there. So Falco currently hanging on to those last points. In 15th. Of course, you are scored from 1st to 15th, so as long as you can finish there, you will have points as well. Devsy there going a bit slow just to allow some cars through, as Quincy goes up into unlucky 13. No, Sebo losing a position there. Falco Warrior really just needs to keep the car pointing in one direction, as there you go, brief yellow flag there as well. Fellow Son and Russia Siri going to do battle for the lead of the race, but Andy Andre needs to make this move now. Look at that, 5.2 seconds. That is not good news for the championship holder, so that means it won't be set up to take the championship going into next week, but he gets that move done, and well, he just needs to now see if he can just go for hell for leather and hope that the soft runners up ahead haven't really done any tyre conservating. What do you think? And well, do you think Andy's going to get this done, Herman, with 7 laps to go?
I'm so surprised, also based on what I'm seeing in terms of the options or the tires that shows yesterday, with Fellison both of the times answering to Andy's call, but only on the final stop he went for the softs and Andy went for the mediums. But that was 2 laps earlier than tonight, and I don't think there's enough time left. I don't think the soft tires, especially Fellison's one, 2 laps younger than Russian Series, won't fall off. Based on what we have seen inside of a nice middle stint by both Moksha and also Rush, where the car is at least up to a third heavier than what they're running right now, and especially also track evolution is still a thing inside of a 50% race. So the track is just getting better, and the car is gonna feel lighter and lighter every time. So if they don't bet it too much at the front, don't think they can come back from that inside of the 3rd and 4th position right now. And Moksha needs to be making sure if anything happens, as Fellison posts the fastest lap of the race, if there's any sort of track limits penalty for any of the guys ahead of him, he needs to be making sure he's there, so he can't be losing focus now. And although it seems a bit late with the response in terms of the tires, as he was 1 lap after Rash, but on the wrong tires now, and has dropped back far further than he would have liked, as he's seriously in trouble right now if he doesn't commit to more of a pacey stint right now. There's no chance of him getting back, and with Fellison's good performance right now, regardless of 1st or 2nd, Alpine will be jumped, I think, in the constructors right now by Kick Sauber. Definitely not scoring, but it has not a really good performance with Moksha in 4th and 8th for this race compared to what one Sauber can do, as Snake has now opted for P5, and Vincenzo is still with him. And the top 2 look to be inbound for race victory. We're still Yet to find out who is going to be on top step, but huge race by Rush in terms of strategy. Really enjoyed that one so far by him, and I have no idea how Feddersen made that hard tire inside of the second stint work, but they are the people to beat, it seems. Rush took pole yesterday. Fellowson was only 5,000 behind, and whatever he learned yesterday, and once a very famous guy named Nicky Lauda said, you learn more from losers, and losers, so a loser might be sometimes the real winner because you just get more out of your race, basically, and especially when you're racing into splits, you basically can correct anything you learned yesterday inside of this race here today and make it better as Rush and Feddersen are still 5 seconds ahead and there's only 5 laps basically left, and even a time penalty for them right now wouldn't stop them from taking first and second. So that's impressive, and you have to say inside of a very chaotic mandatory two-stop season where most of the racetracks really are soft, are medium hard, and that's your race done on a 50% one stopper. You need to be aware where everyone is around you, especially on that chaotic first stint where 9 people were um or had an opportunity to undercut, which Bevish took, didn't work out at the end, especially with that spin, but they just made it perfect as of right now. Also the driving helps, and honestly baffled by how wrong this race is going for Andy, and I don't think that's anything to do with his skills or his abilities. We've seen plenty of that, but just not his day. Maybe today. I'm confused a bit, I have to say.
I am too. I wasn't really expecting any of this, to be honest with you. Moksha doing a good job, although he is going to be behind Fellowson for that battle for second. And I think Danger David, as he's not been able to attend this week, I think we'll have to forget about any sort of fight for second. Although I do say that, there is still a few races to go as we have a yellow flag for... actually, speaking of Red Bull, that is for... Not for Falcon Warrior, that was for Sir Ribbo there, just getting out of the way of a few cars. He's still pointing in the right direction. Of course, he's 19th due to Toby not finishing the race due to a disconnect. Has all rushed the series there, getting a bit squirrel happy on the exit of turn 4 there. But at the moment, it is coming down to the last 4 laps of what will be 3, well, eventually about, well, I would say about 12 miles of Grand Prix racing still to go. But of course, that could, if anything can change on a flash, there could be a penalty which could just bring things into doubt. Although, as Herman has alluded to earlier, a penalty in the top 2 wouldn't make a difference. But if Andy or Moksha got one, that would certainly put a damper in their races, respectively, for 3rd place. So everybody just needs to keep it between the white lines. It's been a good race for a lot of drivers, although the closest battle on track right now, let's have a look. It is Enzo or Encenzo. I should probably start saying that, make a habit of that. It is battling with Race Chase for 6th position and trying to hang on for dear life. He is also trying to catch up to Pleasant Snake at the back there, although his hard tyres are also on the same life as Snake's, and Race Chase there running with the soft tyre for the end of the Grand Prix. Now, of course, we're going to see battling... Oh, wait a minute. We have a caution set to 1, but that's only for the slow-moving Mercedes of Kwan there. Of course, I don't think we're going to see a safety car now. We're within that range where the safety car will not be called out if there is another one to come. But anyway, it's the final 2 laps now. The fellow Sun and Rush, the series battling for the win. What are you doing if you're one of these 2 drivers?
I think Ferguson currently has the upper hand. I think 2 laps can be the difference maker, especially if you need to fight basically traction zones, and you need to be closing in. So currently the win is basically, or Ferguson has one hand on the trophy and he's pushing right now, it seems. So he has extended that gap, and Rush is gonna is in need to use more of his tires, which he has probably less left off, and I think Fellowson is currently more in the ballpark to be taking that victory today. Also, speaking of Fellowson, would be his 6th podium inside of the season, 2nd win. Uh, se- yeah, s- 2nd place for most podiums inside of the current Division 2 championship for season 5. If Moksha can take that podium away, then that would be also his 4th right now, and looks like he's gonna be yeah, close with the fight towards the top two, as you mentioned before. So yeah, honestly, could be Andy's ninth podium. Could also not be if there's still some fight in Moksha left, as we see another fight for the bottom end of the field with Shankok, Falco Warrior, and Nocebo. All of them have 3-second time penalties, so it's basically like they have none. And the last 2 points pay in position for 3 drivers doesn't work. So, oh, Nocebo maybe on the inside there for turn 8. Doesn't get it right. Hard tires against medium tires for the Red Bull. And yeah, he's looking like he's staying ahead. And they're about to be lapped, so they need to get a move on if they don't want to be yeah, finishing in these positions right now and continue to fight. But don't really see how they're going to be lapped before the end of the third sector here. So they're going to be fighting for the last point paying position as Volker goes completely off the track at 11, and now he's basically fresh meat for the leaders if he doesn't get his car going again sooner rather than later. Race chase is taking Vincenzo for a sixth, and now yeah, he's looking in to get maybe Snake on the last lap as well. Fresh softs, as we can see on the Aston Martin there on the outside, and he's looking very racy as we turn our attention towards the front of the Fierce series. Looking like he's close. He's very close to 10s, but he's not doing a dive here. He's very low on ES as well. Maybe the traction is good. Moksha goes side by side with Andy, and now the Mercedes on the outside. Can he do the switchback? Alpine goes a bit wide there. Line compromise. Gets Skrilly on the exit.
Indeed.
Next to each other.
Indeed, as now Andy Andre has an optimal opportunity, but it's turn 4 who's later on the brakes. It looks like it's Moksha, but he's going to have to settle for 4th place for now. But what about this lead for the race? Well, Fellow Son has a couple of lap traffic. There's now just under 1.6 miles to go in this final lap. 29 laps have been done, but now Rush Nasiri only has 1 to go. And Rush Nasiri gets an all-right exit through turn 8, turn 9 and 10, but Fellow Son with DRS will probably have this all sewn up. It has been a long time coming in Division 2 for the Hungarian, but although it's not over yet because the lap traffic could you yet prove to be a thorn in his side. And look at that, Rush Nasiri is right there. If there is any sort of mistake, the Haas gets out the way, but that might have ruined the momentum for Fellow Son on the exit of the corner. No Sebo, 10-second penalty for ignoring blue flag. Rush Nasiri thought about it into the final corner, but wasn't close enough. And now, well, Fellow Son will be a winner in round 11. He wins in Bahrain. Rush Nasiri very close in second, but Andy, in the end, holds on for third. Moksha fourth, and Pleasant Snake, oh wow, are now involved in a final lap battle for 5th place. Race Chase takes the position away for now, but can Pleasant Snake fight back through the final turns? No, he gets it all wrong, and now Enzo with a 3-second penalty fights back, so he'll lose the position as soon as he gets it. And it's Pleasant Snake in 6th. Eugene will come home 8th. 9th won't be Bavish. That will go to Jolly Boy John eventually. So Bavish will be relegated to 10th place as long as he can keep it all together through the final corner, which he does. And then Jolly Boy John will come home. Bavish, of course, unserved penalty there from speeding in the pit lane. So now Jolly Boy John upgraded to 9th place as Tark and Gino going across the line with Kovachka close behind. But of course, he's got a 3-second penalty, so it will be Gino's regardless of what happened there. And Quincy, in a race of his own, well, had a bit of a moment at the beginning, but has got it all together for at least a few points there. 13th place for the Williams driver and finishes on the same lap, so he'll be very happy with that, I would imagine. Coming across the final couple of corners now, and then it will be Crank George in the V-Carb coming home in 14th position. And then, what a race that was. It wasn't, well, I say it wasn't entertaining, but it was absolutely entertaining because you just didn't know where things were going to happen. The strategy calls, I think, were the most entertaining part of the race this time around.
Yeah, I would certainly agree. And also, yeah, Fellows likes these yeah, Middle Eastern located racetrack. Took the only win he has in Division 2 for this season in Qatar of season opener Mystery Grand Prix. and now he's taken a win in the neighboring state, and that was Bahrain tonight. And he was very close yesterday, 5,000, and it was close again tonight with Rush, but he certainly stepped it up just one more gear, it seems. Or I don't know what kind of rhythm issue maybe Andy had, because he was certainly looking a bit out of shape. Completing the podium there in third place as Rush took second here. And yeah, I have to give it to Rush. Honestly, great calls on the strategy tonight. Unfortunately, a bit, yeah, maybe out of tires at the end, but Fellison pushed it right to the end, and yeah, came through. And they're gonna be both happy, I assume, and I don't think Andy's gonna be too sad about it as well. It's still a podium, and he's gonna be looking forward to having a great weekend in Japan as well next time out. So there's nothing really I think he needs to be sad about tonight.
Absolutely. I don't think this is Andy's favorite track either. So I think this was really the best of a bad situation. And we will, of course, interview the top three in just a couple of moments' time. But now, well, we reflect on that, and well, Andy um, is still gonna be in a nice place at the very least. Although he will have lost about what 10 points, is it, to from first to third, or so is it 7? I can't remember.
I think it's 7. I think it's 25, 20, and then 18.
Okay. So that would mean, in order to take it, I think fellow sub would need to finish fourth or below for Andy to be confirmed champion next week. That's if Andy wins, of course. And then yeah, no, we'll just have to see. So it might go on to round 13 still, but although I think Andy would want it done before then. We're going to have interviews coming in, of course. Just to remind you, your winner of the Grand Prix, fellow son, second place. I am trying to remember after all of that.
Rush.
Rush the series, thank you very much. And then, of course, in third place, Andy Andre, which was about 8/10 ahead of Mopsha. Mopsha just not quite getting back onto the podium there, but certainly a return to form for the Alpine driver, who I'm just looking at results from last week, but can't find. Oh, there we are. He actually qualified 11th and finished in 10th, so a six position improvement for him over last week. So I think he'll be happy with that, regardless. Now,
yeah, I think Kovaska is not really enjoying his new car. Has started outside of the top 10 today and hasn't finished inside of the top 10. I think mainly due to the overall weakness of the starting on the hard tire strategy. Undercuts seem to be way stronger. So yeah, he's I think he's gonna take this one off. Gonna think back 4 points and walk off with that. Nothing to be yeah, bother too much about. So yeah, go again next opportunity next week. Qualifying is going to be more important there. Passing there is troublesome, but if people make mistakes into especially sector 1 with hot tires, then he can certainly benefit from yeah, gaining some positions there. So maybe he bounce back. I'm not sure what went wrong here today, but yeah, tire choices didn't seem to do him a favor here.
Absolutely. So, we should have the podium sitters with us in just a few moments' time. I'm sadly having problems with my light, so I'm not going to switch to my webcam. I'll just bring up the calendar real quick, because after tonight, we are in next week going to be in Suzuka after the real life race. In that weekend, and then of course it's the 1 week break, and then it's the final four, which will go to Saudi Arabia, Zandvoort, Miami, and of course Silverstone for the final full qualifying, and of course Suzuka hosting the third full qualifying session, where we'll go through qualifying sessions 1, 2, and 3. Well, that has brought up a couple of surprises here and there. But anyway, let's see. Are our top three going to be with us sooner rather than later? In fact, they have just arrived. And let's, of course, start with our winner, and congratulations to him. It's fellow son. Well done to you. It's been a long time coming. But hey, you got it done. It took you a long time, but round 11 was yours to win.
There were so many things that had to happen for this. I mean, Rush was really, really close, and I reckon he would have had it without we coming up to the back markers. But it definitely feels better, especially after yesterday. Yesterday was so close.
Absolutely. I heard a few things happened yesterday, but we won't dwell on those too much because tonight was just excellent racing up and down the field. But of course, I really want to talk about the strategies because that's where the race was really won or lost. Was there any sort of predetermined strategy going into the evening, or was it just play it by ear as the race goes out?
So I was definitely going to start on the mediums and probably go on to the hards. And then my last stint, I wasn't sure if I'm going to go for the softs or the mediums. But after seeing Rush doing so many laps on the softs and still having the pace, I decided to go on the softs, and I think it worked out. Yeah, I'm just happy it didn't overcut me by a lot, and I managed to bring back the gap. I could have lost the whole race there if he just manages to keep me out of the DRS probably for another 2 laps. So yeah.
Right. And then, of course, going into the finals. Well, actually, no, I'm going to leave a question for my co-commentator here, Herman. I'm not going to take
Thank
his
you.
spotlight.
Okay, yeah, fellas, and obviously, yesterday was very tight. 5,000 of a second is not much, especially in F1 terms. What was the biggest thing you took away from yesterday? Because it seemed to be going downwards most of the time from Mondays to Tuesdays, and you stated obviously that you also don't really like the kick Sauber compared to the Williams. So, what has been one thing you picked from yesterday that went better maybe today?
It's a tricky question. I don't think I did it. I mean, I just tried to stay consistent the whole time, and making sure that Rush can't or people can't undercut on the soft too much. Because the only thing I took from yesterday that I don't understand the tires at all. The softs can go as long as the mediums, and I just don't get it. Some people have really good pace on it. Some people don't have that much pace. So I was just gonna play it by ear to see how it goes.
Yeah, one follow-up question for the strategy from my side. Yesterday, you were kind of copying what Andy did, apart from the final stint where you opted to go for that soft at the end very late. What was the hard tire for you? Because I don't think we really saw any hard runnings for what was the majority of the top. Yeah, basically 4 at the end. How was there? How was it? How was the tire holding on, especially after you kind of felt that Rush was still pulling good laps on 10 lap old soft tires at the end of the second stint?
They were bad. But they were consistently bad. On the softs, I feel like that there was some overheating moments on the front, and I had loads of understeer one lap, and then it was all right the next lap. The hards were consistently bad, so at least it was easier to work with it. But they do go on for a good bit. But yeah, hards were the worst tires today. But I just needed the tire life.
Okay, yeah, that yeah, well, it was certainly interesting to see how the tire was holding up for you because yeah, the second stint was mostly dominated by softs throughout the field. So yeah, congratulations again on your win, also from my side,
you
and
very much.
thank you for taking my questions.
Thank you.
Same from me. Have a very good evening. Congratulations on the
Thanks for
win.
commentating, guys.
You're very welcome. See you
No
next
problem.
week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We move on to our second place. It's Rush the Siri. Rush, congratulations on second. It was oh so close for the win, but in the end you had to settle for second best. How do you feel about that?
I'm alright with it. I think I lost the race in the first stint. I lost a bit too much on the start, but I was stubborn and I wanted to try to start on the hards. And I think if I hadn't fallen back so far that I was like behind people that were not at pace with the guys ahead, I went for the early undercut, and it helped. I caught up to the leaders again with it, but yeah, I had to. I really wanted to try the undercut for the last stint again, and yeah, like Feloson said, if I had managed to get 1 or 2 laps more out of the DRS, maybe I can stay ahead. And in the end, I was just not aware enough of the back markers coming, because maybe I would have tried something earlier than the lap before, maybe. Because then I would have had maybe the defense of those back markers for myself. But just a lesson for next time to watch the track map a bit.
And yeah, no, it was just unfortunate there. Well, in your eyes anyway, because obviously you went for that undercut early on, came off the hards, and then all of a sudden you were one of the early ones as well with Bavish as well, and like I mean, went for the undercut second time around, and you were oh so close to that. Obviously, you're happy with the podium. But I think one of the things going into next week, we are going to Suzuka, and I think strategy will be a key part of that again. Are you looking to do something similar, or are you going to switch it up a little bit?
Let's see. Here's the special case that I don't know why I haven't really tried the mediums, but I just saw that all the esports and stuff only go soft hard because they want to avoid the medium. So I just tried avoiding the medium here too, and so I don't know what, but I'm not sure. See what the weather is. Japan always rain is a factor, so and I really like the two-stop races with rain. They're lots of fun, so I hope for that.
All right. Well, any further questions could go to my co-commentator.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Rush, obviously looking at what tire choices you made yesterday, you were also starting on that soft like some did today. Was there something inside of that first stint that you did yesterday that you really didn't like, especially maybe considering fuel load, or what made you switch to the hard tire for the start of this race tonight? Did you just want to have both of the softs in the later stages of the race, or just get rid of the hard as early as possible? Regarding also the comment you made about the medium tires, what was the process after yesterday's race compared to today?
Yeah, yesterday's race, I don't know, that strategy could have worked out too, but today I was just I wanted to like try out how much you can maximize the undercut. And I knew that the softs are okay up until to 14 laps, so I thought I just want to try something really extreme and see how it plays out to just get the experience and learn some lessons. And yeah, that's what I did.
And one thing about qualifying yesterday, you took pole by a 10th. Today, you didn't seem to be on the pace. What happened inside of the qualifying today for you?
It was a bit risky yesterday and today because I only wanted to use one set, so I went out only once. Yesterday the lap worked out instantly. Today I just had too many mistakes because I wanted to have 3 fresh softs, to have 2 for the stints and 1 fresh for late safety car. Today it was just, yeah, maybe if I qualify a bit further ahead, maybe I can get P1, but I'm happy with this. Fellison had the pace. I could barely hold up, so it's okay. He deserves it.
Okay, thank you very much for taking my questions, and also congratulations on P2 tonight.
GG.
Absolutely, and congratulations from myself yet again. See you next week in Suzuka. Now we move on to maybe where he didn't expect to finish. It's your current world champion, and well, could be champion by next week. It's Andy Andre. Congratulations on third, regardless. And I think the first question, and I think the question on everyone's lips, that final stint on the mediums. What was that all about?
A poor judgment on my part. Apparently, I really didn't get a good overview of the strategy and the tire choices. I didn't realize the mediums were such a bad choice for this track. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, even if I would have gone for 2 sets of softs, I still think I would have struggled. I kept struggling with the braking throughout the race. Kept locking up and had to brake really early just to make the corner. So yeah, don't know what else to add. Just congratulations to Fellowson and to Rush, and it was a fun race regardless.
Absolutely, and well, it looked like you were actually going to come into play during that final stint, obviously, until you went onto those medium tires. But just going into that middle stint there, you were undercut by Bavish and Rush the Siri, and yeah, no, it was just those two, Bavish and Rush the Siri. What were your thoughts going into the second stint there? Was it a bit more of a challenge than you thought it would be?
The second stint was pretty decent. I tried extending as much as I could. When I saw the others go for the softs so early, I got a bit confident. I thought that with the mediums, I'll be very much faster at the end of the race. But yeah, it wasn't to be. The softs weren't falling off, and the gap actually was growing throughout the whole last stint. So yeah, a bit of unexpected tire model from my understanding, but still, yeah, the guys just did a better job today, and congrats to them.
Absolutely. Any further questions? Well, Herman can take over.
Yeah, and obviously looking at yesterday, we also need to have maybe talk about tires. You were kind of going for that same strategy yesterday. Obviously, Fallison was opting before that interruption hit for that second soft, and then you also switched on lap 24. And what made you kind of commit to the hard tires? Obviously, yesterday it worked, but maybe was there some learnings the quote unquote losers yesterday could take to get an advantage over you, especially with that undercut after fighting so long with Fellison. Suddenly, a couple of guys who were running closely behind, but maybe not really on pace, were jumping you, and also Moksha was at both stages really close to you. And 5 seconds to go down with a harder tire is not going to be easy. What was maybe the difference maker from what you got in terms of information from yesterday?
Honestly, didn't give it much thought, and yeah, that really showed today. I should have paid a bit more attention to the tire choices that the others make. Yeah, I think the softs were quite a bit quite a bit better suited for this track, which is really unexpected for me. I rarely, pretty much never use the soft as a race tire, except on late safety cars. But yes, it just seems to be working on this track, and sadly I didn't pick that up yesterday, and by today it was a little bit too late. I only just realized it in the final laps, as I saw that the other guys were just pulling away, and the softs weren't falling off at all, as I was expecting.
Yeah, obviously next week, Japan, totally different track. I don't expect the soft test to be seen there at all. Is there also maybe more of a disliking towards the Bahrain track? Maybe you obviously always stated that high downforce tracks are more to your liking. Is Japan going to be totally different story, and Bahrain was maybe just an outlier for you tonight, at least for Division 2?
I think so. Bahrain has some very difficult braking zones, which I really struggle a lot with. I just can't really find a good setup or a good way to release the brakes when turning in, and I always have to brake very early in brake and turning situations. And Bahrain has a lot of those, and I know there are 2 or 3 corners on this track, which I'm really losing out a lot. So yeah, in that regard, I think I'll do a bit better in Suzuka, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, thank you very much for taking my questions. Congratulations again on third, and speaking to you probably in Suzuka again.
Yep, hope to speak to you there also. Thank you, guys.
Welcome, and we'll probably speak to you as champion the way things have gone as well. Congratulations on tonight. Well, we'll see if you're champion next week. See you then.
Yeah, see you.
All right. Well, that concludes another entertaining evening of silly season racing league action here in Bahrain. What are your thoughts going into next week, Herman? Just before I sign off.
Yeah, obviously great race. Basically, especially for someone who is really into strategy, and two stops are really fun to watch. And I think the soft was great. Next week, Rush also mentioned the weather could be a big factor, and keeping tires alive, especially fronts, is going to be troublesome for some, especially when you need to start fighting at late stages. Hearts can go long distance, but I think we're gonna, especially with two stops, see a lot of different strategies as well. And undercut is strong, as you can't really pass on this on the track in Suzuka. So I hope for more entertaining action that maybe doesn't see Andy as the immediate winner next week, though obviously he's most deserving of that. But maybe there's another win coming up for someone like maybe Moksha or David when he's back, or even back-to-back Fallison, who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Well, just have to stick around for next week, Herman. It's been a pleasure to have you as always. And I wish you all the very best until I see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye for now. And with that, we round off round 11 of SSRL. Of course, next week we will be in Suzuka. And of course, now that we are on BST, it will be taking place at the usual time of 7:30. So do please remember, the clocks have gone back. But I'm sure if you're here right now, you're already aware of that. And then, of course, there will be a break. And then the 4 final races of Season 5 to come. But from everybody here at Silly Season Racing League, including the admins, the stewards, and the drivers, we all thank you for watching. And of course, you can see us right here, same time, same place next week. And of course, Silly Season Racing League will also be doing their own stream for Division 1 next week. But for now, it is all the very best from myself and everybody at SSRL for this evening. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Stay safe, stay alive, and see you next week. Bye for now.